title of the lesson is Solitude, and solitude means staying alone and enjoying the surroundings, the company of the surroundings, without feeling lonely. That is the meaning of solitude. So there is a lot of difference between solitude and loneliness. It is actually undisturbed state of mind. So here we come across the author's experience, and he did not want to stay in the human company. So he builds a cabin in the forest, a very nearby forest, and then he stays there for nearly 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days. And he writes his experience throughout the lesson, and he wrote a book called Walden, because he stayed near the pond called Walden, and it has got 18 chapters. And in that 18 chapters, the fifth chapter is entitled, the title of the fifth chapter is Solitude. And here we come across his experiences and his communication with the nature. So the lesson is divided into 10 paragraphs, and all the 10 paragraphs, they highlight the importance of solitude, and you will see the uh, beautiful description of this solitude throughout the lesson, student. Come on, let's start. The first paragraph has two important points. That is, the first one is it is full of sounds and it links with the solitude. Usually solitude means, we all know that it is an undisturbed state of mind. So usually we don't want any sounds when we want to be peaceful. But ironically, you come across all sounds here are described, and the author says that these sounds give a kind of solitude to me. So that is ironical. And the second one is a literary device where he attributes all the human emotions to the nature, and he describes the evening as delicious evening. Delicious means usually we say tasty thing, but here it also gives the meaning which is pleasant to watch. So evening is very delicious, and the whole body is one sense. That means he is completely merging himself with the nature and imbibes delight through every pore. We all know that human body is made up of millions of pores. Usually we enjoy with five sense organs or the five senses, but here he says that he is enjoying with every, through every pore. And he says all the elements are unusually congenial to me. Congenial means pleasant. So these kind of elements are giving a kind of pleasantness to me. So he moves on to describe the animals and the birds which are there in the nature, which give him a kind of pleasant feeling or the happiness. The bullfrogs. Bullfrogs are the male frogs, students. They are yellow in color, and they are mostly found in the Northern America and Mexico. So they get their name, the bullfrog, because they make a strange sound in the night time. That is trump to usher in the night. Trump means a kind of playing, like a playing cards. They play with this sound, calling their mates or the female counterparts in the night time. So that sound is similar to the bulls. You want to hear that sound? I think. And one more thing with these bullfrog students, they have these poisonous glands in their mouth, and they eject the poison when they are attacked by the predators. So they kill the predators with this poison. You remember the famous movie Apocalypto, which was released in 2016, I believe. So there, the protagonist, he uses the poison of this frog to kill the rivals. Okay, I collected that clipping also, students. You can just have a look at it. And then he describes the note of the whippoorwill. Whippoorwill is a bird which makes a strange sound, like a whipping sound only, with the fluttering of the wings, students. See, this is the bird which is brown in color with all the freckles of brown color. It merges with the brown leaves of the trees. Okay, and there is a white band separating the neck and the body. Usually the male birds have this kind of bands on the neck, student. That is the identification between the males and the females. So this bird also makes a strange kind of sound. And he says that these sounds are bearing on the rippling wind from over the water, but he says he's not disturbed with the sounds. And he also says sympathy with the fluttering alder and poplar leaves. These are the trees which are found in the northern hemisphere. This is the alder tree, and this is the tree poplar tree, and the leaves, they give shelter to these nocturnal birds, the birds which thrive in the night time. Okay, so they give shelter. And what happens when they are making sound, the leaves flutter, they shake wildly. So that is the reason he's sympathizing with the fluttering leaves of these alder and poplar trees, he says. So this is also a kind of attributing human emotions to the nature. So the inanimate objects think like people, he says. That is reverse pathetic fallacy. That the fallacy or the comparison which is impossible. It's not possible, the human emotions getting attributed to the nature, but here he uses, throughout the lesson you come across this kind of device, students. All human emotions are attributed to the nature here. So he says, I have sympathy with the leaves which are fluttering because of the sounds, but I am not disturbed, he says. And he says, almost takes away my breath. He becomes breathless but not choked. Yet, like the lake, my serenity is rippled but not ruffled. Ripple means smooth waves which are created in the lake. So, a kind of serenity, a calmness is produced in me, but I am not at all disturbed with these sounds. So, these small waves raised by the evening wind are as remote from storms as the smooth reflecting surface. So, in the busy urban areas, what happens, the storms are there and the sounds are created like storm, but here he says it's a smooth reflecting surface of the lake I enjoy. So though it is dark, the wind still blows and roars in the wood. Look at this blowing, roaring, these are the sounds made by the living creatures, but here he says the wind is making this sound, roaring and all, and the waves are dashing, and some creatures lull the rest with their notes, and the other creatures, they are singing a kind of lullaby and putting the other creatures to the rest with their notes, means songs. The repose is never complete, means the sleep is never complete. The wildest animals do not repose, the nocturnal animal exactly. So they do not take rest but seek their prey now. They go for hunting, like the fox, the skunk. Skunk is also a kind of nocturnal animal, students, with a bushy tail, and rabbit now roam the fields and woods without fear. There is no fear for them because of the night or the darkness. They are nature's watchmen and links which connect the days of animated life. So it's a kind of a beautiful painting, he says. I could see all these things. So finally he says that he compares himself with the lake, and he says, my serenity is rippled but not ruffled. There are only smooth waves which are very beautiful to enjoy. And he says, the whole body is one sense. He is merging himself completely with the nature. So let us summarize the first paragraph, students. So the two important things in the first para are sounds linked to solitude, and then reverse pathetic fallacy. What is pathetic fallacy? Attributing human emotions to inanimate objects, that is non-living things, or nature or animals. And the reverse pathetic fallacy is Thoreau, that is the author, compares his serenity to the lake. So his peace he is comparing to the lake, so that he could erase the line between himself and his surroundings. So there is no difference between him and the nature. So he's taking the human emotions from the nature. That is how he draws human emotions from the nature, sympathizing, lullaby and all. So that is the summary of the paragraph, students. Important phrase you have to remember is, my serenity is rippled but not ruffled. So let us move on to the second paragraph. The second paragraph romanticizes Thoreau's house location and its remoteness. Romanticizes means beautifully describing. That is the actual meaning of romanticizing. Okay. So he talks about the house. You all remember he has constructed a cabin in the forest. Okay, so and it is very far away from the other neighborhood and other people. So here he says, our horizon is never quite at our elbows. Horizon is the last point, the farthest point where we can see. Actually, horizon means where the sky and the earth meets. That is the point where we call as horizon. So he says, it's not nearby. It's very, very far. And no house is visible from any place but the hilltops. So the house is very remote. And he says, I have my horizon bounded by woods all to myself. So what I can see is, it's not the end point or the meeting point of the sky and the earth, but it is only the woods, means forest. I can see forest to the far away places, till to that extent. And he says solitary. He doesn't use the word lonely. He doesn't say that he stays lonely. He says, I am solitary. That means he's enjoying his place. And he says, my own sun and moon and stars and a little world all to myself. So I have my own world. And he also says, the world to darkness and to me, and the black kernel of night, means the core, the center of the night, or the thickness of the night, was never profaned by any human neighborhood. Profane means making it impure or unholy. He says, my holy place, or the forest is such a pure place, it was never impaired by any human neighborhood. He says, no humans dared enough to come to me. They are all scared of this darkness, he says. And he says, the witches are all hung. This phrase tells us that the people are afraid of darkness, and Christianity and candles have been introduced. He says, this is a religious element, students, that he believed in Christianity. So that is the summary of the second paragraph. Let's move on to the next paragraph. So in this paragraph, Thoreau says that even the society and friendship can be found in nature. We need not necessarily have the company of people, but without people also we can have friends in the nature itself. He says even the poor misanthropes. Misanthropes are the people who hates other people. Even they can enjoy in this nature, and they can feel that music. Aeolian music means soft music and natural music, but the condition is his senses should not be still. He has to have a healthy and innocent ear. That is the condition. If the healthy ear means listening capacity is there, then he can enjoy the nature with beautiful music. It sounds like a beautiful music, he says. And he says he enjoyed the company of the seasons. The seasons were his friends, he says. He need not have humans as friends, but he had seasons as the friends, especially the rainy season, which watered his beans. He had a bean field, and then he also had some potatoes in the fields. So he said, the gentle rain which waters my beans and keeps me in the house today. That day he has to remain indoors because of the rain, but actually he could take rest, and it prevented his hoeing. Hoeing is actually making the soil loose with the help of these instruments. They are called as hoes. Okay, this can create rows in the field and then remove the unwanted grass or the unwanted plants, the weeds, and keep the crop healthy. So it prevented hoeing whenever it rained. So he enjoyed the rain also. So he says, I were more favored by the gods. He says, I enjoyed the company of the nature, and the seasons were my friends. So that he considered himself as lucky person. He was favored by gods, he used to say. But I have never felt lonesome. Never in, he stayed for 2 years. You remember, students? He stayed for 2 years in that lonely house, but he never felt lonesome. Only once he had a doubt, if the near neighborhood of man was not essential to a serene and healthy life. Okay, am I leading a peaceful and healthy life? Am I missing something? The near neighborhood of a man? Am I missing the company? This kind of doubt he had only once. So to be alone was something unpleasant. He just got a doubt, but I was at the same time conscious of a slight insanity in my mood. He thought it is only an insane thing. It's a crazy idea, but for himself, he's very happy. So he found friendship in the nature, society, and the friendship. He need not have any human company, he thought. Next paragraph we will see. So, in continuation of the third paragraph, the author tells that he suddenly became aware of the sweet and beneficent society in nature. So, he could find that that kind of society in nature itself, that he did not require any human neighborhood or human company. That became so insignificant. He started not giving any importance to the human company, because everything he could find in the nature itself. So that is the importance of this paragraph, students. And then again you will come across this fallacy, that every little pine needle expanded and swelled with sympathy and befriended me. He says that these pine leaves, you might have seen the pine leaves, students. When you go to the mountainous areas, you find these thin needle like leaves. They became friends to him, it seems. So almost all the elements of nature befriended him, he says. And he became aware of the presence of the kindred. Kindred means relatives. So not the relatives in blood, are the humans. These elements of the nature became his relatives, that he could find no place for the other people in his life. So he enjoyed the company of the nature more than the person or a villager, he says. So that is the summary of third paragraph, students. He says that there is no need of any human company. He could find nature itself is the best society for him. Now moving on to the fourth paragraph, some of my pleasantest hours. So he had the most beautiful hours in the woods, that is in the forest, for the 2 years. He spent there for 2 years, and during long rainstorms, that sound of the raindrops, like it was like a music for him. And then whenever it rained, in the third paragraph, he could not do any work. He had to stay indoors, and staying indoors, and he used to watch the maids stood ready with mop and pail in front of entries, in front of the doors, so that the muddy water, the deluge, has to be cleaned from their homes. So that was the time he enjoyed. He used to watch the maids ready to clean their house, because he need not clean his house, because his house was so clean, and it was all entry. The entry was so neat, and he thoroughly enjoyed its protection. He felt very protected indoors. So what happened one day, there was such heavy thunder shower, and the lightning struck a large pine tree. And the pine tree was completely burnt, and making a very conspicuous, means very clear and perfectly regular spiral groove. Groove is the empty space in the tree. So that was the consequence of the lightning. He could see it very clearly, and he could, as if you would groove a walking stick inside it. What is the what are the dimensions of that groove? An inch or more deep, the depth is 1 inch, and 4 or 5 inches wide. That was the depth of the groove he could witness in the forest, students. So he means to say, even the scariest things also did not scare him. That's why he is talking about this lightning experience. So moving on to the fourth paragraph, that is in continuation, he says that he was totally able to enjoy the nature in spite of these scary things which were happening. So I passed it again the other day, and was struck with awe on looking up and beholding that mark, the groove, which was scarred on the tree. So where a terrific and resistless bolt came down out of the harmless sky 8 years ago. Usually we think there is nothing terrible about the sky. Sky is supposed to be very harmless. But what happened, even from the harmless sky also, there was lightning which struck the tree. That was he was sharing. That's the incident he was sharing, students. Terrific and resistless bolt. Bolt means the thunder. In Telugu we say pidugu. So that came out of the sky. So he says that there could be some kind of danger or some kind of harm from the society where people are there, but there could not be any harm from the nature. That's what he's trying to tell here. And the whole earth which we inhabit is but a point in space. So somebody asked him, how can you be so isolated? How can you live in this isolated place? But he says, even our earth, the planet also is so isolated when you take the space into consideration. It's like a small speck in the space. So our planet itself is very isolated and lonely. So what do we want most to dwell near to? So do we really require human companions or nature is sufficient? That's what he's trying to tell here. So this will vary with different natures, but this is the place where a wise man will dig his cellar. Cellar is a place, we protect, we keep all the things and we feel very protected from the external dangers. So he feels that the house in this woods is like a cellar. He feels very secured in this house. And I could bring my mind to give up so many of the comforts of life. So he clearly tells that he is near to God where he feels so secure, and even if he has given up many comforts of the life, he does not feel desperate for them. So that was the experienced students. He was totally able to enjoy the nature, and he talks about a small town, Bright Town in Boston city. It is there, which place he would reach sometime in the morning. So here this is the place where the darkness and the mud to brighten. Some strangers used to carry with them. Darkness is the fear and the mud is the dirt. They used to carry to this place called Brighton. Here the place name is Brighton, and there is a pun. Pun means a different meaning. Bright town. So the town which looks very bright. So the people are moving there to the bright town, imagining that they would be safe over there and they could enjoy. But he feels nature itself is bright for him. So that is the summary of the fourth paragraph, student, ability to enjoy the nature. Let's move on to the fifth paragraph. So in the fifth paragraph, we come to understand that Thoreau is not a recluse. Recluse means a lonely person. He is not a lonely person because he says that wholesome to be alone the greater part of the time. Wholesome means complete. A person becomes complete only when he enjoys his solitude. That's what he believes in. I love to be alone. He says, no doubt I love to be alone, but at the same time, a man thinking or working is always alone, means lonely. He has to be in the company of the like-minded people, the people who think in the same way. So solitude cannot be measured by the distance between two people, but by the thought process between the two people. That's why, students, if you try to recollect that when we meet our close friends after so many years also, we talk to them as if we met them yesterday only. So but some people, though we are in their company for long years, we feel so strange enough to talk to them. Okay, so that is the bond between two like-minded people. So he says, not only me who enjoys the solitude, there are other people also who enjoys solitude. And he says a student in a college is like he enjoys solitariness as a dervish in the desert. Dervish means a person, a mystic traveler who goes on preaching. So he is alone, no doubt he is alone, but he enjoys preaching, means talking to other people. So a college student who enjoys solitude is also like a dervish in the desert. And most of the day he cannot be without ennui. Ennui means boredom. So he has to have the company of the same people. So some kind of recreation and society should be there with the persons. That's what he believes in this paragraph. It's very clear that he is not a recluse. Recluse is a person who does not mix with any people. That is the meaning, students. So let us move on to the next paragraph. So in this paragraph, Thoreau feels that the less frequency is enough for all the hearty communications. That means if we talk for a fewer times, it is enough for all the important and hearty communication. The relation would be stronger and there will be value between the relations. Otherwise, the society becomes too cheap, he says. If we meet at very short intervals and not having time to acquire any value for each other. So he says that we have to spend lesser time and the intervals should be very long. Then only there will be a value for the relations. Let's see what he feels in the next paragraph. In this paragraph, Thoreau makes lots of comparisons indicating that God is alone and devil has lots of company. He says that the lonely lake, the Walden Lake, it's lonely, but it does not have the company of blue devils, but it has blue angels. And then God is alone, but the devil is legion. Legion means numerous. That means it has lots of company and it makes lot of noise. So it does not enjoy solitude, that's what he says, and he compares himself to the Millbrook, weathercock, or the northern star, the south wind, or April shower, or a January thaw, or the first spider in a new house. So he says that all these elements, they enjoy solitude and they enjoy their work. Thoreau says that he has company with nature and God when he is alone. And he talks about two important persons or the visitors. The first one is the original proprietor of the Walden Pond, who has created it, who has dug that pond, and then he's a very witty and cheerful person, and Thoreau loves him a lot. And then the second person is an elderly lady who tells lots of stories and the fables from the mythology, and her memory is so sharp, and he enjoys her company also, and she has a small herbal garden where he used to collect some of the herbs, and then she never complains that she's alone and she's away from the children. So these are the two people whom he finds a kind of solidarity in. So here Thoreau describes the forces of nature. He says, and a beautiful question also he puts to us, that if any man should ever for a just cause grieve, he says, is there any reason, judicious reason for grieving or feeling sad? If at all anyone should feel sad, it is the nature would be affected. The nature has reasons for grieving. One fine day the sun's brightness may fade and the winds may slow down or stop blowing and the clouds may stop pouring down the rain, or the woods can shed their leaves and put on a mourning face. So all these human feelings can be attributed to the nature, like crying, fading, sighing and mourning, but man does not have any reason to grieve. And he says, shall I not have intelligence with the earth? Am I not partly leaves and vegetable mold myself? So he says, I am a part of the nature and I am just a mold of the nature. And he says that we have to accept God's destiny for us. And this last paragraph is very, very important and it culminates all the points we have discussed till now. So he says that he gives his own solution to good health finally. So first he questions, what is the pill which will keep us well, serene and contented? So the solution he is going to give. He tells that let me have a draught of undiluted morning air. That means the fresh air and the exercise will keep us really healthy, he says. And I am no worshipper of Hygeia. Hygeia means she's the goddess of medicine, they say, and she's the daughter of the herb doctor Eclupius, and who is represented on the monuments holding a serpent in one hand. So these are all a kind of superstitions. We believe in gods and we pray to gods instead of taking care of our own health by doing exercise and eating a healthy diet. So he is the Roman god of medicine. So finally we get the solution, and he tells that we have to have a subscription ticket to the morning time. That means every morning we have to wake up early and do exercise and eat healthy. So this is the summary, and this is the explanation of all the 10 paragraphs in the lesson Solitude, students. Now let us have the summary of the 10 paragraphs. The first paragraph links sounds to solitude, and Thoreau uses comparisons to align himself with nature. So we get a rich description of the sounds in first paragraph, and the second paragraph romanticizes Thoreau's house location and its remoteness. Romanticizes means describing very clearly. And the third paragraph tells that society and friendship can be found in nature itself. And the fourth paragraph talks about the pleasantest hours and the ability to enjoy the nature by Thoreau. And the fifth paragraph it tells that Thoreau is not a recluse, he is not a lonely person. And the sixth paragraph tells that less frequency is enough for all the hearty communications. And the seventh paragraph tells devil has lots of company and God is alone. And in eighth paragraph, Thoreau has company with nature and God when he is alone. And ninth paragraph describes the forces of nature. And in 10th paragraph, Thoreau's own solution to good health is explained very clearly. Thanks for watching, students, and I have really put in lots of time and energy in making this video. And if this video had made sense to you, please do not forget to like, share and subscribe. It means a lot. So in the next video, we will discuss the essay type questions along with solutions, which are very important from the examination point of view. Okay, bye bye for now and take care of yourself. Let's meet up in the next video.